What's up, guys? Welcome to Go Motoring YouTube channel. So this is going to be the driving review of my 2021 Mercedes E350, the W213 generation. So if you guys have been a subscriber of my YouTube channel, you know that I have previously published a review and test drive of this generation of the E-Class, the W213, when I reviewed the 2022 Mercedes E350, almost about a couple years ago at this point. That car was in many ways similar to this one. In fact, they were both black cars, E350 rear-wheel drive variants. Very, very similar cars. But when I reviewed that 2022 Mercedes E350, I ultimately decided to not go forward with purchasing that car because of its four-cylinder turbo engine. I noted in the review that the Mercedes, the W213, that particular car had a lot of good attributes, that had a lot of good stuff going for it, but ultimately the thing that let me down during that test drive was just the feel of the four-cylinder turbo engine, and I ultimately decided not to go forward with that purchase. Fast forward a year from that point on, and I was still in the market looking for a new daily driver. I really got to a point where I needed a much bigger vehicle to serve with my everyday needs, and decided to give the W213 another shot. I found this particular car, test drove it, and then ultimately decided to buy it. So probably the question that you're wondering is, what has changed? Why did you decide to go ahead and buy a car that had the same four-cylinder turbo engine that you ultimately decided against a year prior? And that's a good question. I think there's a couple of answers that I'm going to give you here. First, the W213, even when I was reviewing the 2022, and I can confirm that now that I've lived with this car for a while, is a great multi-purpose vehicle. It's one of those cars that's perfect for every occasion. You can use it for with your clients, with your business colleagues. You can obviously use it for your family. You can use it to go about your everyday life in comfort, luxury style. It's just a smooth operator. I equated the car to a black suit. That black suit always works. Whatever the occasion, you could always put a black suit on and you'll be fine. And I think kind of in that in that same vein, like I knew even when I test drove the 2022 E350 that the car had a lot going for it, and that it had a lot of attributes that would make it a perfect daily driver companion. And that's still the case. I mean, I think the car looks amazing. I think that the car is incredibly comfortable and luxurious to drive. It's a car that's fun to drive. It's a car that has different modes that enable you to kind of tailor the car to for whatever you're into. It may be just you want to cruise in comfort and you put it in comfortable mode. You want to maybe try to go attack some back roads, you can put it in sport and sport plus mode. So the car gives you a lot of options to kind of customize it for your everyday needs. And because of that, I was just like, well, let me give that four-cylinder turbo engine another shot, right? I mean, again, like when you look at it on paper, even though this particular engine's a 2-liter four-cylinder turbo, it doesn't have the best sound. Performance-wise, it's pretty much comparable to the 3.5-liter V6 that was included in the previous generation cars. I mean, the engine propels the car 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds, which for everyday driving is plenty quick. And ultimately pulled the trigger on this car. Now that I've lived with this engine for a while, almost not a year, but probably 9 months at this point, approaching a year, I can tell you that even though it's still not the best engine that I've ever driven by any means, and this is coming from a guy that has a Z4M Roadster with the S54 engine, which is like one of BMW's best naturally aspirated inline 6 engine ever made. Like this car, the engine in this car is still not amazing, okay? No question about that. But it's not bad. You know, it makes sense. It's an engine that actually works for this type of a car, right? So this particular car is, you know, a luxury sedan, and it's really a car that I would categorize as a cruiser. Okay, it's a car that you sit in, and you know, it's in its sort of default mode. This is a comfortable cruiser. This is a car where you can, you know, that's spacious, it's comfortable. You sit in here, the seats are nice, they're plush, they're soft. You know, the suspension absorbs all the imperfections in the road. I mean, you literally feel like you're gliding on air, right? I mean, when you drive this car. And this particular engine, you know, paired with this 9-speed automatic transmission that shifts gears effortlessly, is a perfect engine for this type of a car, because the engine effectively goes into the background when you start driving this car. Like the whole, it's not screaming for your attention like the S54 in my Z4M Roadster is. Like when I sit behind the wheel of the Z4M Roadster and I drive that car, that engine is like in your face. It's loud, it's mechanical, it's asking you to rev it out, and it makes sense for that particular car to have that engine. But when you get a car like this, that's really, at the end of the day, a luxury sedan, a comfortable cruiser, a no-frills ride, like, you don't need an engine that's screaming in your face. It kind of takes away from the whole character of the car. You need a competent engine that's going to be there in the background, do what it's supposed to do, but not like interfere with the serenity that you're experiencing while you're driving this car. And you know, with that, you know, it'll go 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, as mentioned. It's really quick off the line. You know, it specifically like 0 to 30, 0 to 40. Like this car takes off, and so you never need, like, you're never wanting for more horsepower. Like you're just like, I can merge on the interstate no problem. I can take most cars off the line because of its, you know, low end torque and the turbo powered platform. And it's also not a very heavy engine. It being a 2-liter engine kind of creates a very, like, that doesn't create a car that's nose heavy. And I'm a big fan of those types of cars. That's why I like my, you know, E92 328i over, you know, my 335 that I owned prior. Like, I love those cars that have, you know, a light front end, that are not nose heavy, and you know, makes the car balanced, makes it handle really well, makes it very neutral, kind of makes you feel like you have 50-50 weight distribution in this particular car. And so because of that, you know, now that I've lived with the car, now that I've lived with this particular engine, I can tell you that even though it's not an engine that's going to blow you away, even though it's not an engine that's going to make you, you know, wake up on a Sunday morning and, you know, go take the car on your favorite back roads, for everyday use, which is what this car is intended to be, it actually suits the car perfectly. So you know, if you've test driven these cars and you're kind of on the fence of like, man, I'm not sure if I want you know, a 4-cylinder turbo. I mean, some people would say it's even a disgrace that a luxury automaker would have the audacity to charge, you know, what they charge for a Mercedes E-Class, and equip it with a 4-cylinder turbo. As somebody who has lived with the car, I can tell you that the car, it makes sense for this car. This car is, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a luxury cruiser. It's not, you know, supposed to be a canyon carver, and you really don't even need an engine. I feel like, you know, even with the the E450 is probably fine too, but if you go with an AMG, I just wouldn't understand like why you'd get an AMG E-Class like that, like the E63 AMG, for example. Like, yeah, it'd have a ton of horsepower, it would be really fast off the line, but I just don't think it makes sense for a car like this and what you're trying to accomplish with a car like this, right? So from an engine perspective, it's